What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Weekend Roundup here on Touchline Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content going up on the channel. Anybody who is truly shocked at what we saw in El Clasico, and I've tried to make this point time and time again, has either not been paying attention, has not been giving Barcelona enough credit, or has been giving Real Madrid way too much credit. And of course, it's some combination of at least two of those threes because it's never black and white. Usually it's gray. But you get my point here. I've been saying this since 2022-23. When Barcelona won the league by 10 points and nobody seemed to care. And Real Madrid just got a pass. Either you have to give Barcelona their credit, or you have to wonder why Real Madrid aren't living up to their expectations. And last season, Barcelona were not good. Therefore, Real Madrid won the head-to-head battle, just like Barcelona did in 2022-23 when they were good. And Real Madrid won the league. And no, Barcelona's schedule until this week had not been all that difficult. But look at what they were doing to teams. Robert Lewandowski looked like he was finished as an elite striker last season. He now has more goals across all competitions than any player in Europe's top 5 leagues. Hansi Flick is trying to rebuild his reputation after what happened at the World Cup. Not exactly the most inspiring, exciting hire, but look at what he's doing with this team. Barcelona fans would have happily sent Rafinha packing to bring in Nico Williams. Rafinha's in the best form of his career. This team is good. Therefore, it is not shocking. And no, I didn't expect it to be 4-0. But the idea that they win that game, this is what Barcelona do when they're good. They are the best team in La Liga. And I usually talk about this in the context of the Champions League, and this reinforces the same point. It is two different competitions, two different conversations. And it appears this was the game that a lot of people needed to reach this conclusion. And I'm just not sure. I mean, I know why it took that long, because that's how we analyze this stuff. And we do things like declaring the Champions League winners the best team in Europe. That's not the point of the tournament. And it's one of those narratives I have really tried to fight back on. And this is why. Because Real Madrid do not do what they are supposed to in La Liga. They do not show up week in and week out and take care of business. And a large part of that is because they do not go out to control games for 90 minutes. And there are multiple ways you can do this. I'm not saying you have to be Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. But just look at this week for Real Madrid. Nowhere to be found. First half against Borussia Dortmund. Then they do what they do in the Champions League. Roar back. 5 goals. Feel great. It's reversed in this game. They actually played pretty well in the first half. It's not like Barcelona were blowing them away by any means. Real Madrid were the better team. And then they just have nothing in the second half. They go through these stretches of 45 plus minutes where they just don't do anything. That is not a sustainable way to win a league. And to me, that is the standard. That is the number one goal on top of the team. More important than the Champions League. It is how I judge teams more than anything else. You can disagree with that, fine. But you brought in Jude Bellingham. You brought in Kylian Mbappe. Vinicius is probably going to win the Ballon d'Or. It's fair to expect a little bit more from this team. But this is we've got, what is it, 17 years of history to show this, that they don't win back-to-back titles. I think they said in the broadcast it's been 17 years. They just don't control and dominate domestically like they should. And I will never give them a pass for that. You're talking about a Barcelona team here that had 6, I think, academy graduates out there. Now, those academy graduates were really, really good, including Marc Casado, who Hansi Flick has discovered and was maybe the best player on the field in this game. But you just compare where these two teams are at, and it should not even be close. But all the data is telling you, domestically, the best team in Spain resides in Catalonia. And that's what you saw on the field. Because Real Madrid play with such a... And this is my biggest criticism of them. It's the same thing with LAFC and the way they play now, too. Your margin of error is so slim when you play this way. It is the opposite of the Manchester City problem, which is they try and control every detail, and so when things don't go to plan, as they will inevitably do at some point in the Champions League, they're much more susceptible. Whereas Real Madrid improvise and play on the counter and do all this stuff where they can get themselves back in games. They're not phased when things go badly. They can win a variety of different ways. It's why they're so good in the Champions League, and it's why they're underwhelming in league play. It is not a sustainable formula for success. It works in knockout tournaments because they're brilliant at it. But it defines every game by a few moments, right? You have to win those decisive moments in order to win those games. And in the Champions League, 99 times out of 100, Real Madrid do. But in this game, it was Mbappe being offside a million times. They missed a couple of their other opportunities where they were actually onside. Lewandowski put his away to get things going. Some horrendous defending. This thing should have been 5 or 6, He missed the sitter. But generally, Barcelona executed, Real Madrid didn't. You're going to lose that game if you don't execute because you don't give yourself all that many opportunities because of the way they play. And so I want to get to the Barcelona side of this for a minute. Just had to get that part off my chest first. This team, before this week, hadn't really played anybody. Are they really that good? Sure, they can beat up on some bad teams. Let's see what they do against the big boys. Played Bayern, played Real Madrid, 8-1 aggregate. Blew them away. Now, on the balance of play, did they blow them away? No. They were similar in the sense that you're kind of sitting there wondering how these games are so lopsided in favor of Barcelona. Will that always work? No. Do I think they're going to win the Champions League? No. But that's a completely different conversation, and that is my whole point. It's what I've been saying for 2 years now. You tell me, Barcelona, that Lewandowski is going to be scoring goals. They're going to get some help in the form of a Rafinha, right? A secondary offensive attacking creative player. The academy kids are going to show up and show out. Everything tells you they're going to win this league. And that they're going to outperform Real Madrid domestically. Because that is what they always do when they are good. That is what you saw in that game on Saturday. Now, the other thing I want to get to real quickly here before I wrap up. Liverpool, Arsenal. It is a 2-2 draw at the Emirates. Liverpool go behind twice. Equalize twice. Come away with a point to keep themselves in that conversation. Stay within striking distance of Manchester City. And I haven't really been able to do this yet, so I just want to give Arne Slot some credit here. That was the first time they conceded multiple goals. They still came away with a point. They didn't play well. That is a really frustrating draw for Arsenal because they should have had all 3 points, even though they were without both center backs by the end of that game. You look at what could realistically be expected for Arne Slot in season one, taking over a team that, by the way, finished third and 9 points off Manchester City. Right? It's not like he's inheriting a team that took City to the wire last season. They hung in there for a while and then they fell away down the stretch. They're one of two teams that are perfect in the Champions League. They have lost once in a weird game that, yes, may end up costing them a title, potentially. But it's one weird game. They're consistently outplaying teams. You look at the XG and all of that. I know that it doesn't look all that great sometimes because they look more like an Arne Slot team than a Jurgen Klopp team, which is, again, a testament to how quickly he's gotten this thing set up in the way he wants. But generally, they're taking care of business. Defensively, they've been fantastic. You got to give this guy credit. I have seen enough where and this is partially because of the injuries and the fact that Arsenal have already, dropped some controversial points, specifically with the red cards getting involved here, that had they won this one, my whole point would have been they're beating themselves. Nobody else is beating them. But they did drop points here in a game that they should have won. So I want to keep this more on the Liverpool side. But I'm to the point where I believe they're the biggest title challengers to City. That's not to say that they can actually do this or that they can even take it to the wire. But the number of things that Arne Slot simultaneously had to do to look this good this quickly is awfully impressive. The way he's been able to pull this off. Because he has elevated this team, he has evolved this team, and there has been no downturn or transition period or anything like that. They hit the ground running, and kind of similar, earlier, easy schedule early in the season. Okay, so you went Chelsea, Leipzig, Arsenal, 2 of those 3 games on the road. Win-win draw. And it was a game you didn't play well, and you still found a way to get a point at the Emirates. I'm all in on this. Again, I don't know what that means. They're clearly one of the top 3 teams in the league. That, to me, is indisputable. But does that mean that they're the second best team? Does that mean they're actually a title contender in terms of hanging with City for 37, 38 games and actually making this an interesting title race? We'll see. But they're the team that is still in control of their own destiny because they haven't played City yet. And if they can take 4 points from those 2 games, they are in really good position to at least make this exciting. You're not going to win every single game. That's why the head-to-head is so important. You can't lose to Nottingham Forest at home and then lose to City twice. It's the pressure that City put on you. But City do look a little bit vulnerable. This is not the Liverpool team of, the 9,900-point teams, the team that won the league. But it doesn't have to be to win this league because that's not who Manchester City are at this point. The question is whether it's good enough, and we're not going to know that for a while. But that's not the bar that Arne Slot is working with here in terms of expectations. Can he just have everybody feeling like we're not completely missing Jurgen Klopp and that this team is headed, there's a plan, there's a vision, this team is headed in an upward trajectory still, that there's going to be no drop-off, no massive cliff like Manchester United. They're still trying to climb back up from when Sir Alex Ferguson left. And we're pretty much to the point, I feel like, where we can say, nope, Arne Slot's got this under control. Liverpool are going to be in that conversation, top 4, exactly where you expect them to be. The question now is just how far can he take this? How long is he going to need before he can build a team that can challenge Manchester City? Maybe it's this year, maybe it's not. But he is, at least so far, really exceeding expectations. So credit to this team, credit to him. It's a good point on the road. Now the question is, can you show up every single week and continue to do this and keep putting pressure on Manchester City and then find a way to get the edge in those head-to-head meetings? That is all for this week's edition of the Weekend Roundup. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.